welcome to another episode of The Comic Shop Show. I'm your host, Chris Brenneman, owner of Atlanta, Georgia's Infinite Realities, comics, games, and more. Hope you're having a fantastic week. We are here at the shop. We're smack in the middle of the holiday season. Part of my fantastic week has to do with this week's guest, who let me talk about two of my favorite things in one single interview: comic books and professional wrestling. Now, if I remember correctly, and who knows, maybe I'm not, but I'm pretty sure my love of pro wrestling predates my love of comic books. I was that kid glued to the TV every time there was a wrestling show on, and it didn't matter what it was, didn't matter what promotion it was, I was right there glued to the TV. Now, I'm going to be honest, to me there is a solid connection between superhero comics and professional wrestling. They have larger-than-life characters in flashy costumes battling it out in morality plays. There's action, there's drama, there's friendship, there's betrayals. Hey, I would say a good wrestling show is damn near the same as a classic Chris Claremont X-Men comic. And Kyle Starks, he gets that. His new comic, Wrestle Heist, follows a pro wrestler who was done dirty by a nefarious promoter. Now he's out to rob the bastard during his biggest show of the year. Kyle is no stranger to wrestling, nor is he a stranger to comics. He's written for DC Comics, most recently on Peacemaker Tries Hard, and has regularly contributed to the Rick and Morty comic. His creator-owned works include Sexcastle, Old Head, Where Monsters Lie, and Rock Candy Mountain. He and we spent an hour talking about Wrestle Heist, what makes comics and wrestling so intertwined, and we even grappled with some issues facing the direct market. Hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoyed talking to him. I gotta tell you, I'm excited about Wrestle Heist. I'm an old school wrestling nerd. How long have you been working on that?
I just started this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think I drew issue 1 in January, February. I can't recall. We're doing 4 today. We're working on 4 today.
Oh wow!
Trying to knock it out.
What drew you to wrestling? Assuming old school fan as well.
Yeah. Always. I live in Southern Indiana, and we were stopped on Memphis Wrestling Tour, and my grandmother would go every Wednesday night to see Jerry Lawler at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. And I always went. Grandma liked wrestling. I liked wrestling. And my first comic, the first thing I ever made was a comic called Legend of Ricky Thunder, which is available on my store. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. It's available digitally, a bunch of places cheaper too, if you're into that. And so that was, which is kind of my origin story. So I'll do like a quick mini loop.
Sure.
I did that because I was about to have my second kid, and I made like a bucket list of things I was sure I wouldn't have time to do ever again. I just wouldn't have time to do anything selfish. And the first thing on the list, and the only thing I can remember on the list, because it's the only one I did, was finish a comic, not make a comic, not draw, finish a comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, it'll have to be something that I wish existed to sort of make sure I finish it. Like I wish it existed. So, and that was a wrestling comic, because at the time there weren't really any. I'm sure a comics historian could be like, but what about this in the 80s? I'm like, was it good though? I don't know. I mean, like the Thing had a really great run, which had D-Man in it. We love that, but it's not really a wrestling comic. So I did a book called Legend of Ricky Thunder,
which was awesome.
This was, I think I was 33 when I did that. And I loved it. So when I was sort of promoting that, I got that question a lot. Like, when did you start being a wrestling fan or whatever? And I asked my mom, I'm like, oh, when did I start going with my grandmother to see the wrestling shows? And she said, oh, she took you in a baby carrier. Like, you were always going. So even as an infant, I was inundated with the sounds of ring bouncing and men slapping each other in the chest, not in a sexual way.
Yeah.
So kind of always. I've taken some pretty long breaks. Like, notably, I was out for like the next generation of WWE. I just didn't enjoy how cartoony it was, and I was a teen. I was doing drugs and having sex and that type of cool stuff. So I was out for a while, but then right when and I thought I would try out forever, but right after that was the Attitude Era, and I worked at a comic shop. I worked at a place that was a video rental, used book, used music, baseball cards, comic, and pornography store.
Coolest store ever.
Yeah, if you had problems. And one of the kids there, like one of the young people who worked there was wearing like, Austin 316 shirts. And I was like, it's real popular again, huh? And they're like, it's really good. You should check it out. And of course it drew me back in. And I've pretty much been in since then. I've maybe taken some poor quality breaks, where I felt like I was insulted by the sort of big promotion. But at that time, there was great indies, so like I really fell in love with a lot of the indie promotions. And
Were you an ROH
now
guy?
I was
PWG?
I was a Chikara guy.
Oh,
We
nice.
loved Chikara. We loved Chikara. I even did. I drew one of their DVD covers kind of right after Ricky Thunder before I was
That's awesome.
anything. Yeah. I love Chikara. We try not to speak much of it now, but we love what it was. I think it was one of the best things like that. I think that and Lucha Underground and probably the Attitude Era, like early Attitude Era, were like the best periods, like the most fun I've had in wrestling. So yeah, no, we love it. We always loved it, and we sort of always, whenever wrestling comic people talk, it's like, oh, because I think they're the same. I think even if you don't know you're the same, I think they're the same.
I agree, 100%. Same thing.
Yeah, and I think there's also like, if we're doing that Venn diagram of like, here's the purple wrestling and here's the red comics and where they smush. I think horror movies also, for the same reasons, sort of slide in there, which is that they're always good versus evil, especially slasher movies. I say slasher movies like specifically. They're always good versus evil. There's always a guy with some gimmick who's got a weird mask and has some power. Maybe it's that he's super flippy, or maybe he has a big axe and you can't kill him, or maybe he shoots laser beams out of his eyes. It's always good versus evil. It's almost always a physical interaction to resolve the situation. There's probably something male power fantasy, but I don't think we don't need to get into that. That's a different thing entirely. But I just think that we love good versus evil. We love a fight. I think all three of those things are generally seen as low art, which I don't say dismissively or denigrating. I think they're generally seen as low art, and I think they are. And what's great about them, though, is even the worst version of those three things, comics, wrestling, and horror, is still pretty good. Like, even the worst one, you go, oh, it's doing exactly what I wanted to do. I'd rather enjoy this. But when they rise above the the sort of box that they're in, it's more art to me. It's greater, because it's like, it's not just, oh, wow, that was a really great dramatic book. You wrote it quite elegantly. Way to go, Cormac McCarthy. Your sci-fi apocalypse book is brilliant. Like, you know what I mean? Like that type of thing. It's like, oh, that's really good. So I think the highs are so high and they're so exhilarating, is that's what we're always sort of looking for. But in the meantime, they're always fun. No matter what, it's always at least fun. And I love that.
Well, one of the fun things about wrestling too, and this is why I like the issues of Wrestle Heist that I've read so far, is just as interesting talking about what's on in the ring in wrestling as talking about what's behind the scenes in wrestling.
100%. I think when I was a kid, like, you just loved the fanfare, right? Like the sort of violent cinema of it.
Yeah.
But I think what I really liked about the Attitude Era the most is not, oh my gosh, it's so mature and it's so edgy, is that suddenly we knew what was, like, everyone knew what was happening behind the scenes. We knew why this person got fired. We knew this guy hated this guy. And like, why would you make them work together? We're all like, why would you do that? Like, is it so weird? So I think that was like what got me back into wrestling, was not the sort of like the theater of it, the low art theater of it, like the silly bombastic fun. It's like, oh, now we know like details about how it's made, and I'm fascinated with how things are made, especially stuff like that, because it's very singular. It's a very only like X number of people on Earth do create this thing. I mean, a lot participate, but it's so fascinating. And then to find, oh, like so and so hates so and so, and so and so is dating so and so, and I love that. That really got me back into it. And I think the sort of the childish joy of it is what Chikara and Lucha Underground sort of brought back around. Is like they're clearly playing and they're trying to be entertaining. But yeah, that's what brought me back. 100% was the backstage stuff is like what brought me back into wrestling. 100%.
Like the fact that NPR will randomly do 30 or 25-year, 30-year retrospects on like the Montreal screw job. It talks about just how transcendent that behind the scenes stuff is.
Yeah. I think that's what Beyond a Mat was such a big movie when it came out for wrestling fans, and because it really showed all that stuff. And the bit with the referee, like the bit with the referee and Terry Funk. I don't know how well you remember it, where he's like butthurt that he didn't get asked, and the Mick Foley stuff with his kid. It's all like all that stuff was so interesting. We love this. Listen, the screw job is like the Watchmen of wrestling events, right?
Yes.
But it's not the best story. It's just like that's the biggest notable event, and it's interesting because it's like there's so many events that happen, but that's when we talk about, like, we rarely talk about like hey, what's going on with Jimmy Snuka? That seems like a big deal.
That seems
Or
weird.
like, yeah, that seems weird. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that. Like, we don't talk about the steroid scandal and all these things that happen. Probably more in the next couple of years. We'll be talking, I suspect, more about that stuff. But like, so that's the biggest crossover event, right? Like, the Montreal Screwjob was the biggest one that sort of affected multiple things. The click stuff, right? The click stuff's crazy.
Obsessed with that.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, all that stuff's like, and that's like years. That's years leading up and years fallout afterwards. But yeah, like I think that was like and that was sort of pre-Attitude Era too, right? Am I
Yeah, that
wrong on
was
that?
the
Like,
click stuff. They got their start in like that new generation era.
yeah. But the Montreal Screwjob was like
Montreal was like very beginning of
beginning, man.
Attitude Era. Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. Do you think it's a work to this day? Do you think it's a work? I do not.
No, I don't. I think I think it's real.
No.
I think that those
Yeah,
guys, Bret Hart would tell you if it was a work at this point.
yeah. At this point, that's for sure. That's for sure.
So, what kind of research did you do to build your world in Wrestle Heist? It's got a very territory feel to it.
Uh, so that's an interesting question. I don't know if I did any research per se because it's just a lifetime of experiences, which is pretty much all the stuff that I usually only do. Oh, that's not true. That's a lie. That's an outright lie. I just started to tell a big fib. There is some research. I'm friends with the WWE referee, so I had questions for them that they happily answered, which was little stuff, technical stuff that I don't even know if it made it into the book. But it's really, again, it's really interesting to hear like how things are made, and it helps sort of decide decisions. I talked to Shane Helms
Oh,
a
cool.
little bit
Cool.
about a thing. Again, did I use any of it? I don't think any of it went in, but my thing was like I wanted the world to seem real if you were a wrestler. Like I didn't want wrestlers to be like, you know what I mean? Like, well, that's not it.
100%.
Though we want it to obviously be a work of fiction, and there's exaggerations needed for dramatic effect. But I didn't want the people who did it to be like, that's not it. And I think Do a Powerbomb did a really good job of that, especially those first 3 issues of like, this is what this is their life, right? This is what wrestling's like. Because especially with something like Wrestle Heist, is that it's not about wrestling per se. It's about these people sort of getting revenge on this awful guy. And you want anyone to enjoy it, but you want for the people who like the niche to enjoy the niche. So what research I did is like, it's a lifetime event. So something I really like to do, and I've done it my entire career, is I love archetypes. I love shorthand. I love, like in Wrestle or Where Monsters Lie, it's all archetypes, which is horrors filled with them. Superheroes are filled with them, which is why Invincible works so well, and it's why The Boys works so well. So you go, oh, that's Batman, but he's bad now. That's Spider-Man, but he's bad now. Or he's Spider-Man, but he's a bug. I don't know what I'm saying. But wrestling has it too, and so I think using that shorthand is great for wrestling fans because you go, oh, I like, for example, the crooked promoter. A lot of people are like, oh, I know who that is. It's like, well, it's every promoter just about. Like they're all pretty crooked. If
you read about any of them, they're not good people.
Yeah, especially the region. They're like, when there was regions, they were all sketchy, and so it's really, it very much seems like Vince McMahon if he looked like Paul Heyman, but like Paul Heyman wasn't a great promoter either. It's like they're all bad. So it's really just the archetype of promoters are bad, which isn't fair. There's probably a lot of great promoters, but the ones who held regions down, I think, maybe not the best. So like that's like archetypes. Like Sterling Steele isn't directly based on anyone. He's a specific character that exists to tell the story, which is a pretty clever guy who gets put in a bad situation and has to do what he has to do, which is rob the biggest wrestling show of the year to sort of be able to take care of his family. But like character wise, like the character that he plays is absolutely what if HBK had the $1 Million Man gimmick, because I think that's hilarious. Also, if you're the $1 Million Man gimmick, which is the richest man on earth, and you then have to rob someone for money, I think that's a great subversion, and it's a great twist on that clear premise. And then you go, well, when I tell stories, it's not, though I'm very character driven, it's always what do the characters have to serve a function. So you have your guy who was wronged. He has to do the heist. He has to be smart enough. One of the people has to be smart enough to be able to actually do a heist. And while wrestlers, I think, are generally not recognized that way, I think lots of them are very smart, very clever people. So it's like, well, who would I like to have? It's like, I'd like to have sort of an old head. I'd like a guy who's been around forever, who's sort of from a previous generation. It's like, well, we love Undertaker, so we have a sort of like a sort of supernatural guy who played a supernatural gimmick, who's a big guy. He's smart. He's smart because he was respected as a leader. and then I don't want to get too far ahead, but there's specific skills required. So the next three guys that join the team are there for a reason. And so what is that reason, and what do we want to represent? There's a lot of stuff that as a wrestling fan you'll go, oh, I recognize, like Sterling has had a bunch of bad gimmicks and finally he has a good gimmick, right? Like he goes through this arc, but that's his character wise. You go, oh, I recognize that's, Shawn Michaels and the Rockers and blah blah blah. So we try to do things that are familiar, but we try to make them our own, and we try to make them unique and not that thing specifically. So I will say, because I wanted a monster, I wanted the scariest thing that you could have in this book to be an obstacle later for the heist. And I think if you're a wrestling fan, like, who Ming is. Like, everyone knows who Ming is. And the stories about Ming, but if you don't know, then it's just great stories and he's a great character. So the character of the antagonist main henchman is 1,000% based on Ming, because I want wrestling fans to be like, oh yeah, you're in huge trouble. Like, if it comes to that, you're in huge trouble. And I tell a really fun little story where I think the readers who don't know who Ming is will go, oh, that's awesome. In fact, I did one of these interviews and someone was like, oh, that story is great. I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of a real guy. It's kind of based on a real guy, but he's the sweetest man on earth. So,
until he's not.
Be scared of him. Yeah, until he's not. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. One of our folks who worked at the shop read it, and he's not a wrestling guy, and it works. And I think that's one of the beauties of Wrestle Heist too, is that folks like me, who's been tuned in again since I'm 5 years old, like, I'm doing the Leo meme, right? Snapping, pointing. But I've got this other guy at the shop who's been reading it, and he's like, well, this is a pretty kick-ass heist comic, and wow, wrestling seems pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So mission accomplished.
It's a good skin. Yeah, just a good skin for a thing. We've done. You always want, like, we love our niches. But you also want to be able to. You don't want to just be like an homage to a niche. You want to tell a story, and I try very hard to do that. Like, I think Where Monsters Lie is very good if you don't know anything about horror comics. I think Sexcastle is great if you don't know anything about 80s action movies. I think it's still a really fun, enjoyable story. And that's the goal here, because I think when you put wrestle, despite being, I think any comic fan would like, and I really think that like 80%, the other 20% don't like fun, so I can't help them with anything.
They're lost causes.
Yeah, is that you want to make things that have a skin that's a niche, but also that they're widely readable. I think it's a really good heist comic. I think it's a fun character comic. It just has a skin on it, and the skin's not the thing, but it is a huge part of it. In this case, because I like wrestling. So there's a fair amount of wrestling stuff, but I don't think it's like when I did Old Head, I did this book called Old Head,
which was great.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Which is about an ex-basketball player who ends up fighting monsters. It's weird. But when I was doing the Kickstarter, I talked, ex-basketball player, because I love basketball. And it didn't do great. I was at New York Comic Con, and it wasn't doing really, really well. And I was like, oh, I don't understand. Like, the last two did really well. And Robert Kirkman came by my table and was like, oh, so it's a basketball comic? And I'm like, oh, I have to change some things. Because it's not. To me, it's about a father and his daughter and his mother's legacy and toxic masculinity and how you deal with these things. And maybe I do a Home Alone in it. So I took out all the basketball stuff, because like, I don't want people to think I'm going to force them to watch a basketball game. Like, same with Wrestle Heist. You don't want people to go, oh, he's going to make me watch wrestling. It's like, no, I'm going to make you watch a heist. I'm going to make you read a heist. That just has a really fun, unique skin to it.
Well, I like how you tackle genre, like with Sexcastle, with Old Head, with Wrestle Heist. It's a very interesting approach, tackling these specific genres. What draws you to the style of storytelling?
Well, it's just like Ricky Thunder at the beginning is I always make the thing that I wish existed, and that evolves a little bit. Sometimes it's just sort of stupid action fun, which I think Wrestle Heist is closer. If we were going to do what's the word, like a bandwidth or whatever, it would be on the more silly action fun side than sort of emotional character driven stuff like I've been doing lately, like Peacemaker Tries Hard and End of Life, I think, does it too. I think Marvel Unleashed does it. I have to look at my books. I've done a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's just fun though, but this one does lean more towards fun. I just I want to entertain myself, and I like stories that have a little bit of everything in them. I like it when, like all the things I said earlier, when maybe they seem like they're silly nothings, that they're maybe a little bit more than that. I think that's very entertaining. So we just try to put everything in there. I try not to repeat things, though. I say that in everything does. I can sort of see like, oh, I did that again because I didn't work the first time. So like, notably, Assassination was like, oh, I'm going to do a mystery, and it's like it's not a very good mystery. So then I did six sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, which is a much better mystery. But then I'm done with mysteries. Like I got it out of my system, so I haven't done a mystery since then. And so like you can see, like whatever I'm wanting to do at the time or whatever I'm interested in at the time. This particular book very much was I wanted to do something that wouldn't stress me out, that I knew I would do a good job and I could just sort of get done. Because I haven't drawn something in a long time, and I miss not drawing things. And I think my art was something called Wrestle Heist. People might give more of a shot than if I was called Museum Heist, you know?
I was going to ask about your art style. What makes you decide when it's time for you to do pencils versus working with an artist?
Sure. Usually it's when no one else will do it.
Okay.
I can't I can't imagine someone doing it. One, two, if it's an idea I like a lot and I want it to be mine, I do it. But I think it was like outside of Sexcastle and Kill Them All, which were my first two. And Rock Candy Mountain was I was new. Like no one else is gonna draw anything. And even now I can't afford to pay someone to draw an image book. There's just no way, especially in 2020, heading into 2026, there's just no way I wouldn't make any money at all. I would lose money. So a lot of it's is that if it's something that I love and I wanted to do the most I can, but really it's I want to do it all the time, but I get asked to write more. I mean, the long story short is I get asked to write a lot more. I've only been asked by one publisher ever to draw something, and that was last year, and it was during the Diamond thing, so it was a sort of a tenuous, yeah. But I've only been asked to draw stuff. So usually it's like if I want to do something and I want it to be mine, I will draw it. And usually I do a Kickstarter and then I give it to Image or whatever. I haven't done a series since 2017. I haven't drawn a series since 2017. I want to give it another shot. I want to see what the market looked like. Answer: not as good as 2017, but but it's the happiest I am when I'm writing and drawing something. It's when I really enjoy it because I can put as many panels as I want on a page. I don't have to worry about if I'm overworking someone. There's no editor who doesn't understand the vision. I do need a lot of grammatical help because I'm an idiot. But Image is good about that. Image is real good about giving you grammatical help. So yeah, I mean, that's the long and short of it. It's just, especially like with working with Image, and this is probably a longer, greater story, but I can just make a thing. Like I can just make a thing because I can afford to wait for the money, and no matter what the money is, it'll probably be fine. But if I just want to make something, they're pretty good about just letting me do it. You know what I mean? Like if I have this, if I say Wrestle Heist, they let me do it. If I say, what if Hobo Kung Fu Epic? What if ex-basketball player fights Dracula's head? They're like, okay, like, and that's great. That's what you want. But if not, you know, we would just kickstart it, and who knows what we would do? Who knows? Who even knows what the future will look like? Who knows?
Yeah, and
we're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, comics, who knows, right? Different day to day right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're working with an artist, because you approach things, you know how an artist approaches things. How do you go about letting go of your vision?
No, I think it's no, I don't do that. It's just a different type of storytelling. There's just a little bit less. There's a little bit less because I know how hard it is to draw a page. I know how hard it is to work for someone else instead of doing whatever it is you may want to be doing. Like, and so I almost never do more than 6 panels a page for a book I'm writing. I don't know. I can look and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 panels in the top 2/3 of the page that I'm working on right now. So it's going to be probably 8 panels, which is, I think, my average page for Old Head was 7.5 panels. And that's just because my art, when it's me, like I can make him do whatever I want. Like it doesn't matter. He's easy.
Sure.
So it's just more of like you just look at it differently. And I still do thumbnails and stuff to try to get my beats and my balance and have it be the voice that I want it to be in. But there's just a little bit less storytelling. But those are also, you know, I know going in how many pages it's going to be, how many issues it's going to be. So like you breaking the story down differently, but the story doesn't change. Like maybe now that I've sort of mastered, I use that very loosely, 4-issue series, because when it first like went to 4-issue series, like was the thing. I was like, 4 issues, 20 pages is not enough for anything. Like there's because I was coming off 180 graphic novels, right? Like there's no way 80 pages, but once you sort of see the parameters, it's easy to adjust. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You just tell it a little bit differently. And the thing is, like, those guys draw so much better than I do. Like you can, it's kind of less work, you know, like they can get more in one panel than I can, in terms of storytelling. Mostly, I say that mostly. I've been lucky so far.
When you're writing for somebody else compared to when you're writing for yourself, are you doing full script for both? Are you doing?
So you don't. I have to preface, like, don't do things the way I do it. When I'm doing something, I don't do a script at all. There's no script for when I'm writing and drawing something, which doesn't mean like I'm making it up as I go along. I'm absolutely not. I tell myself these stories all the time, and like when I'm fixated on a story, I start figuring out all the pieces, and then we add and we subtract. I keep telling it over and over until I love it, which is mostly big beats. I want this to happen to this character. I want this to be in the story. This would be 1, 2. Then I see, oh, it's 5 issues. I tell myself that stories over and over and over and over and over, and I do leave room for like, well, this would be a good place for a joke while I'm drawing it. I'm like, oh, this is a good place for a joke. So there's a little improvisation to it, but mostly it just has to work in the moment. I think if I can make myself laugh in the moment, then other people will laugh. If I think this is action sequence is cool in the moment, it'll work. So I go, oh, this will be a bit where the action happens. I don't know what that action is necessarily going to be unless it's story relevant, which it almost always is anyway. So then when I'm doing it, it's like, oh, this has to happen. So I don't write scripts for myself. If I have a complicated like piece of dialogue or a monologue, I'll write that out right before I do it. But no, I don't do scripts for myself. I that's how I like to do it. I don't like to do things twice, at all. I hate doing things twice. So that was one of the tricks I learned when I started. Is like when I was younger and I tried to make comics, I would like write scripts and then I would draw the scripts. I'd be like, I hate it. I hate doing it twice. So I love thinking about stories, and I think like that's the hardest part of writing. Is I think it's under recognized how challenging it is to figure out a story, to come up with a story. Like it takes a lot of time. It might only take a day to write a script. It takes a long time to come up with that story. So yeah, I don't use a script for myself. I obviously I do a very full script. I think I've never seen someone else's scripts unless it was like looking at Alan Moore's or something online.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ryan Brown said, I think kindly said, I write scripts for artists, like the scripts I would want to receive, which I do. So I think it's very helpful. I've never had anyone complain about my scripts being, well, I had one person, but they don't count. I've never had anyone be like, it's too wordy or it's too long or I have to print out too many pages. You know what I mean? Like no one's ever complained. And I think it's because I give all the information you need, but also do it the way you want. Like, I don't care. As long as you do what it's supposed to do, like you're a better artist than me. Like I trust your decision making. Some guys, like I'll be like, I do have thumbnails. If you're interested to see what I was envisioning, some people take it, some people don't. Some people just like to see it, like what dumb thing I was trying to do. But not that I'm doing anything complicated, but so there's beats. There's like, if you want to see, like, I kind of have an idea, but I also know like when Steve Pugh draws it, it's going to be better. It's going to be 1,000% better. So I just have a thing where I was doing mirrored pages.
Okay.
Where like, here's one guy's experience and here's another guy. So I was like, oh, like this. So like, cause they're both in a certain position in a room. So like, oh, see how it mirrors. And he just sent me the page. He's like, oh, fudge, I forgot you sent me. I'll redraw it. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, do whatever you want. I just want them mirrored. Like, you do it however you want. You'll do it better than me. So we'll see what he does. It doesn't matter. As long as it's like you get the gist. Like, I wanted the same action where they're both sort of experiencing the same thing in different ways. So he'll either redraw it or he won't. I'd hate for someone to redraw it. That sounds awful. I would never. I'd be like, you're getting what you're getting. We'll figure out it again later. So yeah, it's just my, and you know, like, they're better. So you gotta let them be them a little bit. But I'm also very type A. So, but I don't actually have to give a lot of notes. And I think it's because my scripts they explain things very well.
When you said you tell the story to yourself when you're doing your own pencils, is this something that you're I don't know, like writing notes on a legal pad? Are you making outline, or is it just completely in your head?
Yeah, I literally, again, psychopath behavior. I just tell the story over and over and over. And when you go, like that second bit doesn't work. And then when I go to the page, sometimes I run into logistical issues because the way I tell myself the story, it doesn't consider, every little element. And I just had to figure something out because I kind of put myself in a position where it's like, oh, what I thought would be the thing doesn't make sense now. Like what I thought part of this heist, like this part of the heist doesn't make sense now. At the time, it made perfect sense, but under any scrutiny at all, it doesn't. So you have to change that, right? Which means I don't have to backtrack. I have to figure it out. So sometimes I do cause myself problems, and they're almost always logistical problems, which are my least favorite parts of scripts. Is like how did Spider-Man get downtown? Like how did he get there? Did he swing? I don't know. Did he take a cab? I don't know. I was like, I hate thinking about it. I hate trying to think, well, that's a panel. I have to explain how he got downtown. I hate that. So that's usually the stuff I run into that's very frustrating is logistical stuff or not like continuity stuff. You know what I mean? Just
No,
like,
I understand.
oh, yeah. So it's like, that's the drawback of that is that I didn't write it at the time is I have to kind of do some dancing, but it's also kind of the fun of it in some ways.
Have you ever
I
had
just tell
to...
myself in my head, like quiet moments, like I'll be like, oh, I go on walks. Like I have to do walks like an old man. And I take a lot of baths and showers because that's what we do. And that's usually the time where I start thinking about something. And if it's something I like, and which is like Wrestle Heist, is where I get very excited about it. Well, that's me thinking about it a lot, and then I go, oh, I really like how this story went. Like I really like this. And usually that is how I pick whatever the next project is. Is that I really like all of the things that I was thinking about. Like there's so many things I can play with, and I think it tells like a good story, and it's emotional, which I love. And it's fun character stuff, which I love. But yeah, I tell myself it's constantly going. And like I play video games when I want to break because I don't think. It's like the one thing I can do where I'm not thinking
Just
about
turn it
work.
off completely.
Turn it off. But otherwise, like I'm constantly thinking about it. I'm constantly at dinner. I'm thinking about it. Like, oh, what if this character did this, and what if that character? Oh, what if they both did this thing? Which makes it think like I'm doing some very highbrow stuff. But they are kind of dumb books, I think. So
No, not at
that
all.
smart.
Have you ever had to? Have you ever got into a position where you've had to backtrack? Like you just painted yourself into a corner and say, well, I got to go back to the previous scene and go a different direction?
Well, not the previous scene. I mean, I'm trying to think because I feel like one of the things I really liked about doing like OGNs to start is that you could go back and trash a whole section, which means I already drew it. Which means like me having to can 2 pages of artwork, finished artwork, is not uncommon. Just because it doesn't work. It doesn't work either just as a bit and it's like, so I trash it. That's not unusual. I think for some of the OGN stuff, like I maybe had to go back and change like a page earlier for it to make more sense, or add a page, which is the best. Like not having to change it, but usually it's additive. It wasn't having to. It's not unusual for me to be like I'm on page, we'll say 18, and I do 1920, and I go, oh, 1920 don't work. Like we have to go back to 18.
Okay.
But the great thing about those OGNs is that I can just add 5 pages. I can add 10 pages. I can add a whole flashback sequence. Like there's no page count.
Yeah, because it's yours. Whatever you want it to be.
So I don't think so much I've had to like completely change or can earlier sections, but I probably added something to them. Because usually I know the story. Like the story is the story. But like I want to add something to make this character more fleshed out, or to make this later segment that has to happen more impactful. I can't think of trashing whole sections or doing a lot of like retcon work, but that is the great thing about those OGNs is that you can just change it. You can like it's an endless number of pages, so theoretically endless number of pages.
How do you decide between doing a series and an OGN?
Money,
the great dictator.
Money and time are the answers. Like I did, the last OGN I did was Karate Prom, which came out last year from First Second, which I love. But I did that book over the pandemic. Like I did it for Free Comic Book Day. I did it. I can't remember how many pages part 1 was. I did it in like 10 days because I forgot drawing makes me really happy. Like writing, not even drawing. I don't like drawing. I like telling comic stories. Like I love doing sequential artwork. It makes me so happy. And I literally I was going to do a 10-page comic, if that, just a little fun nothing. And I ended up doing like a full, like I think 36 pages. And I like those characters so much. I did 60 more pages secretly, and I was like, I'll figure out later what to do it, which my thought was probably going to be a Kickstarter. But I spoke to a literary agent, and things worked out the way they did. So the last thing I drew was 2020. Like really, I did
that long of a break. Okay.
Yeah, for the year before it came out, like we added some stuff. Like I don't remember what the end page count was, but it was it was 100 and something pages, and I think we got to I think we added 60 pages, but a lot of that was just making bigger panels. You know what I mean? Like just making 1 page, 2 pages, which is easy to do. So I haven't drawn a comic out. I did a Who Woofs the Wolfman for DC, but that was, I can't remember, 4 pages and kind of a spoof, and like it's nice to do, but it's not like in comics. So it's been so long. I was like, I just want to do it again. And usually, the more stressed out and the more frustrated I am with the industry, I draw something and I'm happier. And I think, oh yeah, comics are great again, because making comics is always great. So I hadn't done a series in so long. The last thing I did was Old Head, which Old Head did very well on Kickstarter. It's fine. I mean, I've made the royalties aren't even probably worth mentioning, because it is what it is. It's a weird book. But the thing that I've learned, and who knows what next year or the year after, is that the problem with going straight to trade in the direct market is that there's no advertising for it. Like it just appears and exists for 30 days and then it's gone unless it's super killer. But things that are direct to OGN, not great in the direct market. And so the benefit of doing a series is that this is a 5-issue book. I have 5 months of advertising for the trade, 5 months of people hopefully talking about it, a 5-month conversation of existing people's minds. So when the trade comes out, like they'll be like, oh yeah, that was good. They'll tell their friends, oh yeah, I read that. That was good. Hopefully the stores say more, hopefully the stores, because that's really the most important thing in that sort of paradigm, is the stores like it and the stores will sell it. So I think it's like I hadn't done a series since 2017. And I wanted to see what it looks like, and I really like the process of it. So we'll see. I don't know what the next one would be today, but I think I'm definitely going to try to do another series right after. I would love to see what the money was for everything, for like for the 5 issues and the trade, like in advance, like
right.
So I could go, oh, this is the model that works, because that's what we're kind of doing, and going into next year. I think I've done a lot of podcasts where it seems like I'm like complaining, or I don't know. Like next year's gonna be a big one, in terms of how we sort of approach comics. I think Wrestle Heist, I was hoping, was going to do better than it did in FOC. So who knows what issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5 look like, if I even make money off 4 or 5, because it's possible I don't. And End of Life is like, well, we need to start making some money, is where we're at. We need to start making some money. And if having a ongoing book in the Vertigo relaunch, or having a really good niche book that I think should have sold a little bit better, I think word of mouth, I think it will. I really do think it will. I think word of mouth is going to work pretty well for it. Hopefully. We're always an optimist. However, we're always wrong as an optimist. So eventually we'll learn how to do that. But I think, like, we got to consider different things. I just did a Kickstarter where I made 21 grand, which is about on par for all the Kickstarters I do. And it's like, well, like, if I'm making 21 grand for doing a 48-page comic, like, why am I going to do a 5-month project
Exactly
and make I'm hoping, pulling the curtain back, like right now, based on numbers, if I make money at a certain, and I don't remember if I do, at a certain amount, I'm either making like 14K or maybe 25K for 5 months work. You know what I mean? For half a year's work. Like, that's not, 14K is not good. You know what I mean? Like, that means I'd make 28K on a year. Like, that's below the poverty line. It just doesn't work. But who knows? Again, word of mouth. I think the Vertigo, again, the optimist in me, who's always wrong, believes, like, I made good books. I've always made good books. I say that humbly and objectively, but people don't read them. They haven't read them. The numbers speak for themselves. I've done okay. Like, I've done this for a living for 8 years, but Hollywood helped out a lot with that. And I feel like a lot of people are going to be reading a Kyle Starks book for the first time with End of Life, and I think they're good books. This is my Vertigo book, End of Life. I think a lot of people are going to read me for the first time. I think they're going to like it, and they're going, I would like to read more of this, and there's a lot of it. So we're hoping, maybe they pick up the Wrestle Heist trade, because that'll be right in that window. June will be issue 4 of End of Life. So I think it's June. I should know when books come out, either June or July or August. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I think if people like End of Life, and I think they will, because I think it's really good, a lot of people will be reading my type of storytelling for the first time. And hopefully it raises my Q rating. Hopefully I'm doing some other DC book. They like me enough to give me 2 more books. Who knows? We'll see. Or I'm just drawing another comic, and we'll figure it out. That's a lot of words.
Well, this is very anecdotal, just specific to our store, Infinite Realities, here in Atlanta. our customer base, for whatever reason, like we have our Wednesday Warriors. They come in. I would say 90% of our new customers are coming in looking for trades. They want the complete story.
Which
They
makes
want
sense.
beginning, middle, and end. They don't want to come
Yes.
back next month.
Yeah.
And so
Floppies are a terrible way
we
to
cater
ingest
to
a
that.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and so, but everybody comes in wanting a full story and having to explain, well, no, you're going to get it pieced out over the next year.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's just again, this is my favorite and least favorite conversation. We can pull the string, but
Yeah.
the industry, each series relies specifically on floppy sales for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that is an expensive item. That's probably, I say carefully, it's probably not worth the amount that you pay for it in terms of the quantity that you get. You can only get it one place. You have to go to a comic shop. You can't go anyplace else and get this one thing, which is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's wild. That business strategy, as a model, it doesn't work. Not for the stores, because the story. Here's what I say, and I think I'm correct. And there's two things. One, right now in my life, I'm saying the retailers are the most important thing in comics because of that. So we should be going out of our ways to accommodate. And I say we, I mean publishers. I'll literally talk to any I'll do whatever. Like
Sure.
there's only so much I can do virtually for a store. Like, but as if you have questions, blah blah blah. The publishers should all have people whose whole job is just to reach out to stores, and say, what can we do to make it? What can we do to help you? What can we do to make this for you to understand how to sell this book, right? And they don't. The sort of like nitpicky point I make all the time is no one knows how many stores there are left in America. It's less than 3,000 probably. And of the 3,000, every single one, first of all, probably 1,000 of them don't care. They just do it because they do it, right? Like probably a third of them don't care for comics. They just have comics because they have comics. It's not like it's a way to get rich. But the other ones that are rest, they all do business differently. Some want posters because they want to put them in the window. Some don't want posters. They want maybe a video, or because they have a TV and the TV's cool. What if we had creator videos all day? Some want things to hand out. Some don't want anything. They just want to get the books, right? If there's only 2,000 clients, why would you not know who wants what?
Exactly.
And then so things like that make me crazy about the direct market. They make me crazy. So my thing right now is that if retailers are the most important thing, which they are, why are we not? So that's where I am today. That's where I am in 2025. In 2024, my thing was, well, we as an industry, and I feel differently about it, because if that's the case, we have to lean into it. But I feel like we as an industry, instead of leaning into music if we were the music industry, instead of leaning into music as the property, we need to make it cheaper and more accessible, which is when comics were the most successful. Instead, they go, no, it's vinyl. So you got to go to a vinyl shop. You got to go to a record shop to get it. It's collectible. It's so collectible. So it's worth a little bit more. It's like, I think that's wrong. I think they should be cheaper. I think they should be more accessible. But we're not going to do that anytime soon, which is stupid. So it's like, why are we not leaning into how important retailers are as an entire industry? Because that's the only place I can sell these books. It's the only place you can get them. But if we were like, oh no, the books make the most money, because I think that's a easier thing to sell as a book, right? Like look at DC's compacts.
Oh,
right?
those but we can't keep those in stock, and we will order them like 15, 20 at a time.
Yeah, because it's an easy sell. You know, it's a good book. By the way, can we get Peacemaker? Can we get Peacemaker on one of those?
We got to get that.
Around Peacemaker. It's a self-enclosed story. It's a full story. It's going to again, these are the sort of things it's my favorite conversation, it's my least favorite conversation.
Same.
And I harp on the things over and over is that those manga's doing great. Go to Barnes and Nobles. They have 14 shelves. We have 6.
Yep.
14 might be wrong. It might be more like 28. And the reason why is because they can sell that. It's like, well, why can they sell that? It's like there's a million reasons. And I know the reason why they did those compact comics is that they asked retailers, which is smart. DC is smart about it. Vertigo is a response to asking retailers what they needed, right? What would make it easier? Is they're like, oh, people like manga because they're cheap and they're small. I think it's because it's one story and you know what you're getting. I think that's why it works, and I think that's why compact comics works. Also, it's easy to sell because you're like, what do you like? What, Batman? Well, we have 3 of these $10 books.
Yeah, what flavor of Batman you want? I got action Batman, detective Batman, sci-fi Batman. Pick which Batman.
Yeah, so it works. So you go, oh, you just want a good comic? Like, just pick any of these compacts. Like, they're good. This Catwoman story is great, right? So on and so forth. Like, that's why they work. But I think the reason why books are going to be the overall, I think I say again, I think some form of digital and those books are going to be where it really ends up, is because those kids who like manga, they like manga because that's what they are able to get. It made sense. If you pick up volume 1 of One Piece, it's the first episode of One Piece. You saw that and you liked it, right?
Yep.
So there's no like trick. If you like Chainsaw Man, you can get Chainsaw Man, and it's more Chainsaw Man. Whereas when we had MCU and we had the moment where, and all those manga kids are Raina Telgemeier kids. They just
Yes,
aged
they
out
are.
of that, right? And they could have came to us, but they're like, "Oh, we really like the Black Panther movie. What do you have?" And we went,
Nothing.
"I don't know. Good luck, kid. Like, good luck out there,
Dude.
And that, like, listen, you could say like that John Romita Jr. and I can't remember who the writer. Black Panther is dope. Like that's you could like that's what
Yeah.
you could sell, right? I
Dude,
can't believe I'm
Marvel
blanking
didn't
on the
have
writer.
Infinity Gauntlet in print when Infinity War
yeah.
came out.
Yeah,
That summer, people were pouring into our store. I couldn't put it in their hand because Marvel just did not have it in print.
Imagine. Why did they not give? Why didn't they not give like a Marvel unlimited QR code to read like 8 issues for free after every movie? Why? Anyway, we didn't get those kids. I think those kids, what we've learned, and I think it's true from when I was a kid, which is that we all read comics at the grocery store. They cost 60 cents. Your mom got you a comic at some point, and some percentage of us go, "I like this," because I think it's like that. It's why some people don't like reading books, and some people don't like watching TV shows. Some people don't like watching movies. Your brain connects to the media different, and you go, "Oh, I really like this." I think people who go, "Oh, I really like this," love it. And manga did that, and all those kids that were Raina Telgemeier kids go, "Oh, I love this." They would read direct market comics because they like sequential storytelling.
Yeah, they would want it.
There's no entry point, and I think books will do that. And especially we've had a long run of mini series where they're collected, where you go, "Oh, you like horror? Like here's Where Monsters Lie. Here's Nice House on the Lake. Here's Ice Cream Man, more or less. Here's Lock and Key," right?
Yep.
Like it used to be so limited. It's like you can go, "Oh, here's all these books that we have, and these are the ones that we could sell if someone says they like horror." Anyway, I tangented real hard because I'm fascinated by it, and also constantly worried about it. Just because I feel like we're so remiss. It's like if we're not going to try to get new readers, which apparently we're never going to do until it's too late, why are we not leaning into retailers super hard? They'll probably figure it out. Someone will probably figure it out.
Here's
hopefully.
hoping. Like I said, a lot of it as a retailer, I can say it does fall to us to get the stuff in people's hands, whether we're being supported by the publisher or not.
Yeah, here's the thing when I go like, why wouldn't here's a specific thing that I know factually. Invincible and Boys are bringing kids into stuff. They're bringing young people and people who've never read comics into shops because they're going to get Invincible and The Boys, and maybe they'll get Watchmen. And the thing is, like, Watchmen's advanced reading.
It is.
Like, I can't imagine you're like, I really want to get again. Oh, hey, Kyle, I'm your blue collar cousin. I love trucks. I've been watching The Boys. I'd like to get into comics. What would you recommend? And me going, oh, well, you should read Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns because they're the best ones. They are the best ones, but they're also advanced learning. Like, that's not a good entry point. We don't anyway. So The Boys and Invincible, which are meta stories, but because of that, they're again archetypes. It's very easy to digest. You go, oh, I understand. I don't have to know the entire history of Homelander to understand he has these powers and he's bad. Why would, and this is the question I ask, which I'm sure someone's going to hear and get mad at, why would Dark Horse not say, hey, the guys who come in and like Invincible and Boys, if they're looking for something else, you should point them towards Minor Threats. It's a meta story. It's fun. It's Patton Oswalt. It's great superhero stuff, and it's fun, and it's character driven, and I think it's the same flavor. If they like that flavor, they'll like this, because it does. It's 100% that, and it's good. You know what I mean? Like, it's good, and they just don't. So it's like, okay, well, there's 30 comics that come out every week, and the stores can only read so many of them. Like, the bandwidth is only so big. So maybe they didn't read Minor Threats because it's just another celebrity comic, a celebrity guy, even though it's not. Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bluth love comics. Like, it's a love letter to superheroes.
Yeah.
Why would you read it though? Because you go, oh, it's just, you know what I mean? It's just another celebrity thing. Like, who cares? They wouldn't read it. But why would you not say, hey, you guys, if you're trying to sell, like, you can sell this. Oni has a book called Downset Fight, which they just re-released last year, which is one of my favorite comics of all time. It's like Chris Sims and Chad Bowers. And it's about an ex-football player basically fighting mascots across the country. Why every beginning of football season would you not be like, hey, we have the best football book ever made? If you want to get your dad into reading a comic, like, why would you not do that? Like, even the evergreen stuff disappears. And I just saw, because I was trying to find like what webtoons books were selling well, because I was interested. The webtoon thing is really interesting, but I like print. I also like print in the end, so you're interested to see. And also the ones that sell well, with Lore Olympus is we all know the answer. Is how did they convert it onto the page in a way that doesn't look like trash? Anyway, so I was looking at this, and it's like, oh, here's the top like 20 book market, because you can't find comic numbers because they don't exist. Why would we have access to this?
Why would we do
That's
that?
insane. I not like it make it better. We could sell things better. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, thanks New York Times. Is that it was like, so Solo Leveling is like the first three because it's the most popular. It's the most popular manga book right now. Sure. Here's Absolute Batman was on there, which we're very excited to see. Absolute Batman's on there twice. But then it's like, Chainsaw Man number 1, Jujutsu Kaisen number 1, My Hero number 1. And you go, isn't that interesting? Is that and that's the publisher, is that they are selling the books that are good forever. Like, they don't just exist for a week or a month or 6 months and then they're gone.
They don't go like months where I can't get number 1. Like, no, I can always get number 1.
Yeah. I think we're doing things in a way that doesn't make sense if we want new readers. If we want to slowly fade away into obscurity, like the newspaper comic strip, which still exists, by the way. They're still out there. People are still making them. I feel like some publisher is going to figure out something very smart in terms of direct market comics, and I kind of can't wait. But also, it's like I'm weary of waiting. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
there's going to have to be some sort of crossover thing, which I think, if I was predicting, is going to be something like on Webtoons that's also in stores. It's just going to be I read whatever. Make fake name. I just read fake name and I loved it. I want the book. And so you go to the comic shop to get the book, right? I think that's the way it's going to go. And in the comic shop, of course, they get at Barnes & Noble, so they get on Amazon, whatever. You go, oh, what else do you have? I really like this. And a good shop will go, oh, you like that? That guy's done other stuff.
Well, dude, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with me today. This has been fantastic. You're one of my favorite creators. You're one of our store's favorite creators. So this was really fun spending time with you.
Oh, I hope I'm still favorite after this.
I think that your star is just going to keep rising after this.
I hope so. Let's hope. Jesus, we need money.
Well, dude, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always nice to be asked. We like to talk, obviously.
There you go. Kyle Starks, everyone. Wrestle Heist is out in stores now, and Kyle is right. You don't actually have to watch pro wrestling to dig this book, because it's really just an awesome heist comic, y'all. Alright, thanks everyone for giving us a listen. You can follow us on Instagram at Infinite Realities Comics, or check out our website, www.infiniterealitiescomics.com, or you can just come hang out with us here at the shop. Infinite Realities is open 7 days a week, and we want to hang out with you. Come out and see us, talk comics, shoot the breeze with us. You don't even got to buy anything, just come hang. Alright folks, that does it for this week. Make sure to subscribe to the Comic Shop Show from wherever you get your podcasts from. Until next time, be safe out there.